Hello and welcome to another episode of the Monday Night Wars. It is July 1st, 1996, and we are live with WCW Nitro at the U.S. Air Arena in Landover, Maryland. I was going to say Michigan. I think there's one in Michigan. Is there one in Michigan? I don't know. Landover, Maryland.
I think there is, actually.
Yeah, so I'm allowed to be confused. Anyways, as you may have noticed, with me is Joseph Rojas. Joseph, how are you?
I'm, on death's doorstep.
It's getting worse, huh?
No, it's just, I'm
Same
being
old, same old.
dramatic. Yeah.
All right. Well, much like WWF Raw, as you know, fair listener, we record multiple of these at a time. So Joseph's been sick the whole time, so I appreciate you being a trooper for the people.
This is like when Stone Cold busted his lip open and finished the entire match. It's like the same thing.
It is exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing. Well, let's start our number one of Nitro. We got Tony. We got Larry. Eric's apparently still dead. So, because he took a power bomb, it was a nasty power bomb. I'll give him that. It was a nasty power bomb. He dead. DD.
Actually, isn't this the one where he comes back?
Let me see. I can scroll down. I can tell you. I mean, he's dead for the first hour.
Yeah, oh, that's good, big if true.
He's back in the second hour. What a spoiler, Joseph. But he is dead as of hour one. DDP comes out. Because people, Eric isn't the only person that's been wronged. DDP comes out and tells us that someone has stolen the Lord of the Ring. This is terrible, Joseph. What do you make of this?
Well, theft is never the answer, Scott. I'm sure if you had just been like, look, DDP, I need to make ends meet. Can I please take the Lord of the Ring? He would have absolutely obliged. To steal it is just reprehensible.
I wonder if Bischoff he realized this was going nowhere and just snuck in there and just took it. Like, we got to make this story end. Anyways, they should probably start looking for hobbitses to see if anyone has the ring. But beyond that, we got a World Tag Team Championship match. The Harlem Heat versus the Steiner Brothers. Joseph, tell me about this 10-minute, 49-second match.
I actually was really kind of disappointed with this, specifically because, well, Colonel Robert Parker shows up. He's back, and now he's manager for the Harlem Heat. This dude has to be boys with Kevin Sullivan because it makes no sense why he keeps getting used. And on top of that, specifically, why is Robert Parker, who looks like a plantation owner, manager for the Harlem Heat? Yeesh, it's not great. The Harlem Heat end up winning this match, which I really didn't think the match was great, and I love both these tag teams. They end up winning the match because Colonel Robert Parker hits, I think it's Rick Steiner, over the back of the head with his cane. So that's how they win, and it's just like, come on with this stuff, man. Anyways, got to see from me.
And you are correct. It is Rick that gets hit with the cane. Last week, we saw Booker T on the phone with somebody. We didn't know who. I guess it was Colonel Robert Parker, and if so, why? Why do they need him? They won the titles without him. It would be different if, they called him and then he came and then they won the titles because, they needed his management experience to do it. But they didn't. They did it without him. Sister Sherry comes back too, and we're going to have to deal with this shit again, aren't we?
Is that what happens? I don't remember.
Yeah, she comes back. I can't remember if it's as bad as it was, but I do believe she comes back. Yeah. So we'll see. But moving on, we got Gene Okerlund, and he's at the Four Horsemen table. We got to come up with a clever name for the Four Horsemen table, like the Flarum. Love it. We got to come up with a name for this. So think about it. Put your thinking cap on. If fair listener, if you can think of a name for it, email us. We got to know. They tell us about how they've beaten everybody's ass. That's what the Four Horsemen telling us about. Rock and Roll Express, the Renegade, Joe Gomez. Remember last week, Joseph, when I made the joke about, what I'd really want to see booking is Joe Gomez in a 3-way match against the Four Horsemen?
I do remember that joke that
I
we
was
definitely did not record an hour ago.
Yeah, exactly. Long time ago, easy to forget. I was joking, but WCW apparently took me seriously because this is hyping an 8-man tag match tonight with Rock and Roll Express, Joe Gomez, and the Renegade versus the Four Horsemen. Man, I can't guess who's gonna win that. You have any thoughts about this?
Are we talking about this Mean Gene segment with them?
Yeah, we're talking about the Mean Gene segment. I said Mean Gene Okerlund.
Okay. I couldn't remember if they did like a at the desk and then went to this. Okay. Yeah, this whole thing is kinda weird, and look, I love Ric Flair, right? I know you love Ric Flair. This is bad. I mean, okay, let me rephrase it. It's not bad. It's sea level, which is, about as good as I could give this. Deborah says words that mean nothing. She just says a bunch of "okay." Miss Elizabeth says there is plenty of money. You know where that came from. Woman says they need a driver for some reason. Arn said doo-doo, and my wife made sure to point that out. And then Chris Benoit calls himself silent but violent. And then Mongo says essentially what Deborah said, which is a bunch of words that mean nothing. And then Flair cooks on cocaine, but that can't save what we just witnessed. It's not great. I like WCW had a really pretty good show last week. They're starting off not great right now.
The only thing that could salvage this is a Glacier promo. And we get another one, Joseph. Blood is running cold. Glacier is coming to the WCW in July 1996. Are you excited?
I am so excited, Scott.
Well, I hate to break it to you, he's not coming July 1996
You son of a bitch.
because he don't come till September. This is gonna keep going till September. I'm moving on. I've said enough about Glacier and his glacial pace. One day I'm gonna get that word right. And I'm gonna keep trying till I do. Anyways, we got Kurosawa and we got Disco Inferno, and much to your displeasure, this seems to be the beginning of the rise of Disco Inferno. Cause he win 3 minutes 45 seconds. Joseph, break down this banger of a match for us.
A makeshift Elvis comes out to distract Kurosawa, and then Disco hits Kurosawa with the disco ball for the win. This fucking sucked. I gave it an F.
Is this like a play on like that Asian people were like Elvis? Is that what they're doing?
Dude, they don't know what they're doing.
'Cause I think that's a thing. I'm not sure if that's a thing. I do remember that the Prime Minister of Japan came to the US a decade ago, and he really wanted to go see Elvis. Like, apparently, big fan of Elvis, and then they were saying like, that's a thing in Japan. People were like Elvis has like a lot of fans in Japan or something. I don't know. I just is that the thing, or they just don't know what they're doing? I mean, WCW don't know what they're doing, so that could just be what this is. I don't understand it.
No one does, man.
Did you mention that Disco hits him with a disco ball? Did you say
Yeah.
that? Okay.
Like, he fucking calls it down from the rafters. It takes forever to get down. Then he grabs it and smacks Chris. The ref has not seen any of this somehow. It's horrible.
It's wild. And that's our number one contender for the Cruiserweight title. Disco Inferno. I know you can't wait. And up next, we got DDP versus Scotty Riggs. DDP is very angry that he can't find his ring. Before the match, he's upset. We talked to Jim Duggan, and he says he doesn't wear rings because that's for women and stuff. Gets a little homophobic. It's fine. We like Hacksaw Jim Duggan, so we'll forgive him on this one. And he's a man's man after all. He carries a 2x4. So, But DDP is so mad that he just friggin' destroys Scotty Riggs, Joseph, doesn't he? This is a 5-minute, 52-second match. DDP versus Scotty Riggs of the American Males.
Yeah, this is a very straightforward match, all things considered. Right now, matches with DDP are just set up for the eventual Diamond Cutter, and this really is no different. He hits the Diamond Cutter, gets the victory. Mean Gene goes to interview him, and DDP says people are jealous of him. And then he searches Gene's pockets, and that actually made me laugh. The overall, this kind of it's very kind of straightforward, simple, kind of is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, and then after that, DDP stops a moment to talk to Mean Gene, says he thinks he knows who has his ring, seems to think it's the hacksaw Jim Duggan, who said he doesn't wear rings, that's for girls. So I don't know who to believe anymore, Joseph. Hacksaw would not lie. He is a great American, and I don't like these accusations against him.
Is he a real American?
I'm a real American. No, because he would get sued for copyright infringement. But he's a great American, for certain. After that, though, Joseph, I know we have something near and dear to your heart. And I'm not even joking this time. We got Randy Savage and we got Greg Valentine. 5 minutes, 19 seconds. Greg Valentine's back? Wow, right. All right, tell me more.
Mach is wearing my favorite red and white outfit, but this time he has matching face paint. It gets a fucking A plus from me. Greg Valentine looks like the grandma or old aunt that everyone has that just sits around and smokes all day. Kind of like Anne Ramsey, who played Mama Fratelli in The Goonies. That's kind of what I always see whenever I see Greg Valentine. That's horrible, I know, but it is what it
Jesus.
is. Much hits a diving elbow. He gets the win right as the countdown to hour number 2 finishes, and the timing of this is impeccable. 'Cause it's like as he hits the elbow, it goes 3, 2, 1 as the ref counts, ding, 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 fireworks, and it's almost like the fireworks are for Mach, which just it made me laugh. The match itself is pretty straightforward. I gave this a C. There's nothing really to write home about, but it is a pretty fun end of the match moment.
Awesome. I say that because I was distracted because your wife just sent me a photo of her screen printing our logo with the intent of putting it on shirts, and that is awesome. I'm very excited.
I thought she was gonna surprise you with that. That's funny.
Yeah, no. And if you would like a shirt, subscribe to our Patreon and maybe we'll send you one. I'm not saying we will because I can't guarantee that because the shit costs money. But
I I
you
would
got a
say that
better
would
chance.
that would definitely be a sale thing. I know she wants to do that. I know she wants to be able to make us, like, merchandise stuff. I don't know if we're that big yet. You guys let us know. If this is something that you actually would like merch of, let us know. We're kind of flying by the seat of our pants. We don't really know really what you guys are looking for. So that is something that you're interested in, let us know because she's literally right now downstairs learning how to make shirts, like, in-house.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're doing this for fun. We just hope people like it, but we're also incredibly stupid. So we're willing to do all kinds of crazy shit for you if you want shirts, whatever. We'll do it.
Scott made a joke really early on about us making a Christmas album and then had to make sure that I didn't take it seriously because I was like, "I'll fucking do it, guys."
I still assume you're gonna do it. But it's July, so we have some time. And you know what else, Joseph? It's hour 2. We've hit hour 2 of WCW Nitro. Exciting. And guess what? Eric Bischoff is alive and well. He is with Bobby, but he has a message for Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. Nobody is scared of them, and they're gonna get a reckoning. You think that's gonna happen, Joseph?
It would be interesting to see how this plays out. I personally loved what Bischoff was doing here, especially because people don't know where this is going, especially when it comes to Bischoff. This is a really cool bit. I gave this an A, and as he's talking about them, they start to transition to kind of the Four Horsemen and stuff. Hall and Nash come down through the stands, and they have front row tickets and sodas and popcorn. They could do nothing for the rest of the night, and this itself would have been so fucking good. I gave this an A. I loved every moment of this.
It's fantastic. Yeah, because Eric does this, like, looks into the camera, really does this, like, I'm not scared of you, even though he very much looks scared of them because they almost killed him. And then they come out just so nonchalant with the sodas and the popcorn, and they've bought tickets. They have their tickets in hand, and they're sitting front row center. It was fantastic. Well played. Excellent. Joseph, do you want to tell everyone what comes up next, or should I, since you apparently want us to talk about it every time it happens?
Well, I think you need to because it's really your thing.
Blood runs cold. Another Glacier promo. My God. If we took a shot every time there was a Glacier promo, because we record multiple of these at a time, we would die.
Yeah, if if we took a shot.
Maybe we should. That might enhance the podcast because by like episode 3 or 4, we're like, "And then the guy came out and wrestled." Just
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Monday Night Wars podcast. I'm your host, Bender.
I love it. I love it. I'd golf clap, but apparently the mic doesn't pick it up. So
It
just
doesn't. It's so annoying that it doesn't pick that stuff up.
maybe we got to get an insert there. We can insert a golf clap in, a little audio insert. Anyways, our next match is Giant versus Oh, Giant versus
That's
John
exactly the
Tenta.
reaction I had.
Why are you doing this to John Tenta? Why are you doing this to him? Joseph, tell me what happens to John Tenta. Does he win the World Heavyweight Championship in 6 minutes and 37 seconds?
He does not, Scott. I actually think this isn't just about John Tenta. I think this is a huge misuse of both of these men. John Tenta, obviously, like, he's rudderless, right? We love him. They clearly don't give a shit about him. That's unfortunate. We've gone at length on this. There's really no point going further. But however, with the Giant, this dude's your fucking champion. And this is the kind of shit you're putting him in, like these nothing matches that don't mean anything. There's no storyline surrounding him. He'll just kind of say some shit here and there. It's whatever. The one thing I will say is I noticed during this match that Scott Hall is just talking to the old fans sitting next to him when the cameraman isn't on them, and it's honestly adorable. Like, they're just carrying on a conversation. Like, this old guy, I don't even think is a huge Scott Hall fan. He's just like, "Oh, hey, I know you. You're on TV." And they're just like talking. It was really funny. Dungeon of Doom interfered. Giant hits the choke slam for the win. Then the Dungeon of Doom shave half of his beard to match the half of his hair that shaved. This is stupid. Dungeon of Doom cut a promo. Apparently, Big Bubba will have a silver dollar on a pole match against Tenta at Bash at the Beach. They're not selling this pay-per-view very well outside of the Outsiders match. Giant says that, first of all, Tenta's mistake was turning his back on the Dungeon of Doom. And then he says, first of all, the next thing I want to address, and I started laughing because that's literally how he says it. He says, first of all, and then first of all again. And I laughed so hard. Taskmaster comes on and he starts saying that all he can say right now, Chris Benoit and Arn Anderson, what happened to him in Baltimore, fought all through the building. I'll get with you guys and you'll see, and then just walks off. That's literally his fucking promo. I don't know what he said. It was batshit. Giant comes back and says, Benoit, you want a piece of the task miter? And I just can't deal with this promo anymore. And I was just sitting there laughing the whole time. It is like, if you want to watch a train wreck of a promo, watch this right after this match. It is horrible. Every single person fucks up. It's actually breathtaking how bad it is. I gave this whole segment an F.
And then he said that he was going to turn the 4 horsemen into the 4 geldings. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that right. Geldings, which I had to look up because I didn't know what that meant. It's a castrated horse. Which, like, who knows that? I know weird shit like that, and I didn't know that.
Look, he who has not castrated a horse, throw the first stone.
Like, that might actually have been, like, a good, like, zinger if anyone knew what that meant.
Yeah, in, like, 1648, that's a banger burn.
Listen, I want to talk about something else now.
Okay.
I can't remember what he said. What did he say again? He said, because I'm going to add that to my repertoire. I'm going to use that as a segue now.
I don't know. It was bad.
You brought it up where he changed the way he changed the subject, and it was so absurd. And I wanted to use it, and I immediately forgot it because I was busy looking up geldings. Yeah, there it is. First of all, let's talk about WCW Saturday Night 605, TBS, American Males, Rock and Roll Express. That sounds good. Diamond Dallas Page. He's in action. Chris Benoit battling Cobra, because that dude apparently still around. And Sting, Lex, and Randy are going to be in a 6-man tag. That's a pretty good card.
It is.
Yeah. And then after that, we got something that I think you'll have a lot to talk about. You can be very angry about this. Rey Mysterio highlight video interrupted by Hall and Nash. Where did they get microphones? Did they bring their own?
that are already connected to the freaking
Yeah,
system.
to the
Yeah.
PAs. How did this happen? They go to the announce table. The cops are there. Nash drops an F bomb that they have to bleep.
Yeah.
It's it's wild.
You missed my favorite part, which is
Go ahead. Go
they
ahead.
they start talking all this, like, smack, and, Nash calls them clowns, probably because they think that NF sounds like Eminem, but then the security comes in, and they walk them out, and as they're walking them out, Nash starts screaming, "Attica! Attica! Attica!" which is a reference to Dog Day Afternoon, a 1975 film starring Al Pacino. It doesn't really apply to this situation. Like, that's a very, very specific reference, but Nash loves his references, and it's absolutely absurd. I personally liked this whole thing. I gave it a B.
Yeah, we recently made fun of the Giant making weird references about castrated horses, but this is completely different. I loved it. I loved the weird reference to a 20-year-old movie, Dog Day Afternoon, because people have actually seen Dog Day Afternoon. It's a
Yeah,
classic. If you
yeah.
haven't seen it, watch it. It's a good movie. I get that reference. I really enjoyed that part too. Yeah, it's everything they've done so far with the NWO, even though it's not called the NWO yet. They don't even call them Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, right? Because there was talk about giving them names and they just never came up with names. So they just end up calling Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. But at this point, they're still not even saying their names. They're calling them, the interrupters and all that kind of stuff because they don't know what they're doing yet. But everything they're doing somehow still is firing on all cylinders, and it's fantastic. It's really great. After that, though, Gene goes to talk with Jim Duggan in the locker room. We're going to get to the bottom of this ring issue. Good guy Jim Duggan, Joseph, he found the ring. He found it on the bathroom floor. I don't know how that happened. Maybe DDP was using it as a ring on something other than his fingers. I don't know. I'm just asking questions. But DDP comes storming in. He thinks Jim Duggan, the great American that he is a thief. Jim tosses the ring at him. Paige goes to pick it up. Jim Duggan goes into the tights for some of that tape and gives him a punch, man. This was phenomenal. A plus, 100%. Joseph, what'd you think about it? Don't
I
upset
I
me.
I gave it an A, so relax. I gave it an A. This is ridiculous. The fact that he says, "I went to the toilet to relieve myself," I was done. The minute he said that, and that's like the first sentence, I was like, "This is great." We kinda went from, like, a ridiculous thing right into another ridiculous thing, and it's hilarious. I enjoyed it. And just, like, throwing the ring on the floor and DDP fumbling around on the floor to grab it and reaching inside his trunks, pulling out the tape, having all the time in the world to wrap his hand in tape and then go for the swing. It's so this is the best kind of cartoony. I thoroughly enjoyed it. My God, it gets an A.
It's incredibly stupid, and I loved it.
Yes.
It's so good. It's so good. There's the right way to do it, this segment, and the wrong way to do it, whatever the fuck that Giant segment was, right?
Yeah.
Learn from this. That was hilarious. If I'm laughing, it's a good segment, even if it's corny as hell, right? That's all that matters. Know what your audience is, know what you're trying to do, and sell it. And they do. After that, though, we got our main event. Ric Flair, I can't even say it with a straight face. Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Chris Benoit, Steve Mongo McMichael, why is he a horseman? Versus the Rock and Roll Express, Joe Gomez, and the Renegade. 11 minutes, 59 seconds, 8-man tag team match. Joseph, explain this to me.
Have you noticed they stopped calling Joe Gomez the Desperado? I guess this name didn't stick it in the long run. So fucking dumb.
I liked it though. Although to be fair, it's good they stopped calling him the Desperado. I think Joe Gomez is a fine wrestling name.
Yeah.
Just leave it at that.
Yeah. Anyways, this match kind of spills everywhere immediately. I like that Bobby is going, I like this Mongo guy. And Bischoff is like, what the fuck? You hated him forever. And then Bobby's just like, yeah, I made some mistakes, but I'm coming around like that. It's so absurd, but it's exactly what your heel commentator should do, right? The minute someone turns heel, all of a sudden you just love them. And I love that Bobby does that. Arn hits a spine buster, and I love a good spine buster. This is when Flair has developed a mass on his back, which I completely forgot about, and you see it quite a bit in this. I looked it up. I couldn't find out why. I've heard theories like calcium deposits and other different things. I don't know where it's from. I haven't been able to find anything that Flair has said about this match, but you can see it on his back, and it's pretty gnarly, and it'll definitely be there for like the rest of the year. Flair also wins this kind of just sloppy main event with a figure four. I say sloppy, but it's hard to tell a story with 8 guys in the ring. I think it's really difficult to do. Mean Gene interviews the Horseman. Mongo says this is his team now. It's basically implying that, he was on the Bears, but now this is his team. I kind of like that for Mongo, honestly. It works with his football background. Benoit says the gold is coming back to where it belongs. I think they're implying that Benoit actually has a match with the Giant like next week or something like that. Arn says the Horsemen are hand-picked and hand-selected and that heads will roll. And then Flair says some stuff, but I'm going to let you take that over. Overall, I gave this a C. It's very convoluted. I think it's hard to get 8 men over at the same time. It's very difficult. And when the other half of the team is like Rock and Roll Express, who are excellent, and then 2 guys who really haven't done anything, it's difficult. But I gave it a C.
The Flair stuff. Are you talking about Flair's After Dark story?
I don't remember what he says. He just goes.
He talks about I didn't write it down because I was laughing the whole time. But he talks about the Horsemen like after hours when they're styling profile and getting wild. it's just it's just absurd. It just he goes on a rampage. He goes on an absolute rampage. Also, I do want to go back to the match itself and the Halliburton. Is that how they're gonna win every match? It kind of is, isn't it?
That's kind of their thing right now, yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I guess technically they don't win with the Halliburton. Mongo hits Renegade with the Halliburton, which allows Ric Flair to get a figure four in, and the figure four is technically how they win. But I don't need it. What I do need though is you're right, Ric Flair promos, because he just goes on a tear, and I don't know how to explain it. It doesn't make sense. It's just one of his styling, profiling, going after the ladies and all kinds of the crazy shit he always says. And I laugh the whole time. I'm not even sure I completely heard it. It's hilarious though. And I never want it to end. After that though, we got Bobby and we got Eric and they're getting ready to sign off, but something's going on in the back. So we got to go. We got to see what's going on. The police are finally getting rid of Hall and Nash, and they leave in a Corvette. These guys are just the epitome of cool, man.
Yeah, they really are.
It's fun. Did you like that?
Yeah, I didn't really give a grade to this one because it is very kind of like, all right, this is all that happens. They don't do anything. They don't fight anybody. I will say some of the cops are talking mad shit to them. I don't know if the cops were in on what was going on because like Hall and Nash are talking, shit to the cops and the cops are like, I fucking wish you would. I wish you would swing on me right now. And you're like, God damn, dude. Do these cops realize that this is all just a storyline? It's pretty freaking funny. Like you said, they are the epitome of cool right now. They ooze cool, as is often said. This is great. This is just making you want to tune in every week.
They ride off into the sunset, so to speak. And that's how we end the episode. But we're not done because now we got to talk about Raw, Joseph. And I'm sure Raw has another banger that's going to compete with what we just saw. Let me look at this card here. Marty Jannetty. Duke DeRosa? Oh, shit. Well, let's talk about it. We got Vince. We got Jerry, and our first match is a non-title match between Shawn Michaels and Martin Jannetty. Joseph, tell me about this. I guess Jim Cornette's there, I should mention, because he wants to embarrass Sean, which I don't think is going to happen. But tell us about it.
So I actually thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm going to even say that I gave this an A. It's honestly a very fun opener. Both men are so good in the ring. They've got great chemistry. And you watch Janetti here and you just go, man, if you could have ever stopped self sabotaging, you would have been such a big star, whether it was in WWF or even in WCW. And I think one of the reasons that WCW never tried to sign him is because they knew his track record and didn't want to put up with that. But he would have had options if he could just get out of his own way. This may be the first WWF Raw match that we've talked about that I would actually encourage listeners to go watch. It's really fucking good. The two men, they wrestled for like 20 minutes. It's a very good match. Also, watching Jose Lothario punch Cornette at the end was pretty great too. I gave this an A. There is technically storyline between the two men because of their history. It's just a very fun match. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
It really isn't a bad match. You're right. Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty, they were tag team. They know each other well. They perform well together. It was a good technical match, but it's a non-title match. It's not really for anything, and I don't really feel like they've built a rivalry here. Like, I think this could be a good angle, right? If Marty Jannetty was a heel and he had a chip on his shoulder about how Shawn has, which is kind of the angle they're playing, but I think Marty is a baby face, or at least if he's a heel,
No,
he's not very.
Marty's a heel here
Well,
because
he's not very
even
good at it.
no, he's not. And remember, even Leaf Cassidy's like taking shots at Shawn during the match.
Yeah, so I feel like it would have been better if this was kind of a slow burn about how Shawn is the much more successful one. Marty's got a chip on his shoulder. He's upset about it, and he wants to make Shawn pay for stealing his shot or whatever, right? But they kind of did that last week with that vignette, but that's the first time we've talked about it. And I think we immediately drop it because I don't think we do anything with this again. So I think the on-screen talent was good, the in-ring action was good, but it's a non-story. It doesn't go anywhere. But let me tell you, Joseph, about a story that goes somewhere, because we got highlights from Superstars where Sunny told Phineas Godwin she loved him, and everyone was shocked, and it was really just a trick to win the titles. And then they tried to slop her, but he can't do it because he loves her, and it's terrible. But that's a story, Joseph. What do you think about that?
I fucking hated it. Got an F. I don't know why they're even showing this. And it does result in him slopping her. And we all, like, by now, this is unfortunately a well known story of her getting slopped and what happened, right? Just in case you don't know, because I know there's some people who don't, I think it was Phineas or Henry, whichever one. One of them had the slop bucket, went backstage and said, just so you guys know, I'm slopping Sunny tonight. Put the bucket down with all the contents that were already in it and left the locker room. And the story goes that many, many superstars, because Sunny had so much heat backstage and they didn't like her because she was an egomaniac, that just is reality, decided to just relieve themselves with whatever bodily fluid they wanted to into the bucket, and that's what gets slopped over her. It's disgusting. It's horrible. It's a horrible story. It's a ridiculous storyline that's going on here. It's bad. It just gets a complete F from me.
Yes. Next up is Mankind versus Duke the Dumpster DeRosie. Joseph, tell me about it.
All right, Jake is a guest on commentary.
I love that deep breath before you started. I can tell you're excited to tell us about this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So a few weeks ago, we had a guest host, Julian Burrell from Tights and Fights, and he mentioned how horrible it was to start a rivalry between Jerry and Jake under the context of alcoholism, because Jerry cannot deal with the subject with any sort of grace. That was a couple weeks ago, and it wasn't even as bad as it is tonight. Jerry makes a joke about Jake's alcoholism just about every 2 seconds. I'm not joking. That's not hyperbole. He literally does that. You can't pay attention to what's going on in the ring because all that Jerry is doing is just being insufferable. The storyline should only happen with the right talent. Jerry's not the right talent. Finally, Jerry drives Jake too far. Oh, Mankind wins the match, by the way, with the mandible claw, which you don't fucking even care about because they're concentrating on this shit instead. Jerry Jerry drives Jake too far. Jake chokes Jerry out, only to have Mankind attack him. But like, why would Mankind care? We go to commercial with Jerry screaming, "Last call, last call." I could not have hated this anymore. It's just disgusting. It's another fucking F. It's horrible.
And it only gets worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think have we gotten to this on the podcast yet, or is the episode with you and Julian when this first happened? Because I think we've alluded to the fact that this was going to happen and that we both absolutely hate it. And I
That
can't
was
remember.
that was the first one where they started going in, but we
Okay.
knew leading up to it, "Oh, shit, this is where they're going."
Yeah, we've alluded to it before and how much we hate this, and it's only going to get worse. Yeah, I mean, there are ways to handle real life stuff, and it makes for a good story. This is not one of them. Jake legitimately, for many years, had substance abuse issues. He is now clean. He found Christ. That helped him get clean. You know, you do you, man. Whatever works. God bless you. And they make it a joke. I mean, it's not handled well. It's handled incredibly poor. Like I said, it's a joke. His sobriety is a joke to Jerry, and it's just a terrible way to handle it. It is so bad, and it only gets worse. Yeah, and Mankind, what is Mankind? Doesn't he have a rivalry with Undertaker?
They don't know what they're doing. They just don't.
I don't know. Yeah, they're circling the drain right now. It's amazing that they survived, honestly. Like, because I remember when you and I first started watching, we were just expecting Raw to be terrible because that's what we had been led to believe, that it was just all terrible all the time. We were like, no, this is actually pretty good. Like, they're putting on good shows. Yeah, it's a little out, the gimmicks are a little outdated and cartoony and that sort of stuff, but the talent is good. They're telling some interesting stories. But the last couple of weeks, I'm like, oh, this is what people are talking about. This is it. And it is. And you can call the WWF Superstar Hotline and find out all about it. Remember when they made fun of WCW for having a hotline and now they have a hotline? I think I bring that up every time, but I just want to point it
You
out.
do.
I just want to point it out. It's hypocrisy. Anyways, again, they show us Mankind assaulting Jake the Snake. I don't know why. I don't know why this is a thing. Hopefully, the main event can fix it for us, Joseph. We've got Mark Marrow, we've got Goldust, and we've got Stone Cold Steve Austin on commentary. This has got to be good, right, Joseph? Tell me about it.
I actually didn't hate this. I thought this was okay. Got to be for me. Like you said, Steve Austin's guest and commentary. Jerry spends like 45 minutes talking about Marlena adjusting Sable's skirt in the parking lot because of fucking course he does because he's horrible at his job. Steve Austin openly tells Vin Man, "Don't cut me off. I'll knock you out." And that had me dying. This kind of becomes Austin's gimmick for the next few months. He does multiple guest commentary spots and dominates on it before they finally figure him out. Jerry tries to get Austin to rag on Jake the Snake about his alcoholism, and Austin does oblige, but he does it in such a great way. He starts by saying the alcohol vapors were so prevalent in their King of the Ring match that it almost got him buzzed. And I'm like, oh God, please don't. And then immediately he turns it away from Jake's alcoholism and rants about how great Jake was when Austin was a kid. And that's the problem is he's too old, too hurt, and his body is too damaged. And yes, because of the alcohol problems to compete in today's WWF. And this is Austin's time, not Jake's. Boom. Austin is everything Jerry isn't. Marlena starts lusting over Sable for some reason. Sable's trying to ignore her. That distracts Marrow, and Goldust hits the curtain call for the win. The match itself really is quite decent. And as annoying as Jerry is, Austin, I think, made up for him tenfold. I gave this a B. It's the second best thing of the night, but we've had a horrible, horrible night. I gave this show a C minus.
You're right. Again, the in-ring action, pretty good. Ringside. I mean, Mark Marrow, Goldust are great. But we like them both. Mark Marrow should have stayed with WCW, but we like him. Yeah, I think Austin elevates this because he really does put an end to Jerry's crap. I think he handles it really well. Stone Cold's one to talk about someone drinking, so as we'll see later. But yeah, I thought he pivoted well. I mean, he took Jerry's bait because he had to, right? And then he turned it around and said, I don't know if that was good guy Austin or what, but it was handled much better than Jerry would ever handle it because Jerry, it's just bad. It's just bad. Next week, the Godwins are going to fight British Bulldog and Vader, and the Ultimate Warrior's in action. Maybe. I don't know. Probably not. But they hype it. Who won, Joseph? 83 weeks. WCW. This was WWF not good. Not
No,
good.
not good at all. WCW clearly won. They're on fire right now, deservedly in their 83 weeks. Dear God, what is WWF doing?
I think the 2 hours helps WCW quite a bit because not every match is great. I mean, because WWF only has 3 matches tonight, and WCW had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 matches, right? So double the amount of matches. So even though there were some stinkers in there, like Disco Inferno versus Kurosawa, and we like John Tenta, but the giant John Tenta match, nothing to write home about. There was enough other stuff where we're like, yeah, that was a good night. When WWF has 3 matches. If they're not all bangers, I'm gonna remember.
And I think to your point, I think the 2-hour format in wrestling is the perfect format for a show. Gives you enough time to have matches as well as storytelling. Now, if you have like 3 2-hour programs in a week, that's too much. I'm just talking about if you're having like one show, 2 hours, that's the perfect amount. You get to tell everything you're trying to tell in that 2 hours and move it on to the next week.
Yeah, I think it makes absolute sense. And WCW is knocking it out of the park right now. We can see why they're winning in the 83 weeks. We're in what, week 3 now? Week 4?
This is
So,
week 3. Yep.
yep, so there you go. And it's beginning, and we see why. It's very clear why they are winning. And that's the end for us. We did it in record time today, Joseph. Probably because Rod didn't have anything we really wanted to talk about. But,
No, they were bad.
but that's it. Thank you for listening. As always, we really appreciate it. We hope you're enjoying it. I know we're enjoying it. Have a good one.
Bye, guys. Hey, everybody, it's Joseph. And guess what? Not only can you listen to us every Monday on Spotify, but you can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and YouTube Podcasts as well. Just search for Monday Night Wars Podcast. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us on Twitter at MON Night Wars Pod, on Instagram at Monday Night Wars Podcast, or just email us at mnwpodcast@gmail.com. And finally, subscribe to our Patreon at Monday Night Wars Podcast. For $2 a month, you get every pay-per-view from WCW and WWF during this era, as well as additional content later on. Once again, thank you for listening. We'll see you here next time on the Monday Night Wars Podcast.
Also, on a side note, I think you need to get a little closer to your mic. You sound kind of distant. What are you doing?
Well, I'm getting closer to the mic.
You sound good now. I could hear like you shifting around, man. Anyways.